You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
5:36, Zach Gelb Show, broadcasting to you live from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studios. And we're all proud here in the Princeton area. I stayed up late last night to watch Princeton and USC. And the Princeton Tigers in overtime upset USC 103-93. And that was some game last night. A crazy end to regulation, and then the Tigers bounced back in the overtime period to secure the upset over USC. They're actually their first Pac-12 win since 1996 when Mitch Henderson was a player in the NCAA tournament when Princeton defeated UCLA, a classic game. We all know that. Mitch Henderson, the head coach of your Princeton Tigers, is kind enough to join us right now on the David Lerner Associates hotline. Mitch, congratulations. Thanks for the time, and how are you?
I'm doing great, Zach. Thank you for having me on. And, man, you staying up late to watch that game, that's impressive.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was streaming it on the computer. I have Verizon Fios, so no Pac-12 network, but I was streaming it, texting Coach McConnell after the game. That was some performance, and I'll tell you this, the toughness of your team, because when they blow the end of the regulation, and, you know, they had a tough end to the regulation when they were up the majority of the time, and you get into overtime, and they just were the better team in overtime. That was some toughness and resiliency by your kids.
No, I appreciate you saying it, and you know, you're not even being harsh. We really let it go at the end of regulation. We had a 6-point lead with 32 seconds left, and you know those are games over the years that we've been able to win. And then you know the look on their faces, you know, when you're going into overtime, you know, is really a moment of like reckoning, you know. And they came out and scored a very quick 2 points on us, which was the first time we hadn't led, you know, really since the beginning of the second half. And then Amir Bell came right down the court and had an and one, which was a big play in itself. But I thought just a huge. You mentioned toughness, just a huge toughness play to wrestle some of the momentum back our way, and we didn't relinquish the lead. You know, ended up getting a 10-point, you know, winning by 10.
You talk about the emotions from the end of regulation into the overtime period up against a program like USC, and you have a good level of balance on your roster with young players and then also upperclassmen. You know, being in a big spot, this team like they were last year, you guys aren't a stranger to it. But what did you say to your team going into the extra overtime period?
Well, you know, I had used the, hey, you know, we had coughed up a lead, and I used the, hey, if I told you you'd be up 4 with a minute left, you know, wouldn't you be excited? You know, and then I couldn't do it again in overtime. But, you know, it was actually Devin Kennedy that kind of rallied everybody and said, we got 5 more minutes in us, and he was going down the line and full of energy, and that's Devin. He's got energy to burn. I always say Devin kind of runs hot. Like my son calls him Lightning McQueen. Like he's always going, you know. And Devin had just tons of energy for all of us in the overtime period, and I think that carried us. But you know, it was a series of plays made by Miles, Devin, and Amir, and you mentioned the veteran guys for us have really been big.
I'll tell you, Devin Kennedy is a diligent player, and he puts in a lot of that hard work. I remember when I was at Jadwin Gymnasium doing the show before the BYU game. It was 3:30, and you guys didn't play until 7, and he was out on the court warming up and getting ready. So really a diligent player that you have in Devin Kennedy.
That's him. He's in. I mean, we literally have to kick him off the court all the time. You know, I mean, that's unusual. And in fact, you know, there were guys on the team that I'd love, you know, if they could get a little slice of what Devin has, you know. But no, he's we have to make sure I have to text him and call him and be like, off means off, Devin, nothing today, you know, because he's always in the gym, and that it shows up. He's making close to 4 threes a game, or he's over 4 threes a game as a college basketball player. That's pretty impressive.
You know, there's different types of leaders, and Miles Stevens, he leads by example. James Jones called him the silent assassin last year during the Ivy League tournament, but his play last night was very loud, 10 of 16 from the field, perfect at the charity stripe, puts in 30 points, but probably the most impressive was only having 1 turnover in that performance. How about the play of Miles?
He was fantastic. I mean, really, There were a number of professional scouts there last night. I thought Miles was, and I'm biased, but I thought he was the best player on the floor. He had 4 points at halftime, and he finishes with 30 and 9, and 8 for 8 from the free throw line. And he was pissed off. He had a fourth foul that was kind of like a little chippy foul that he didn't think he had committed, and he came over to the bench at one point, with about a minute left in the game, and he was kind of inconsolable. And, everybody kind of doesn't know what to do with Miles at that point, but I love it. I love his, the junkyard dog that's in him. I think that makes us go, and we feed off of that from him. And he was just terrific.
You look at your trio, and we all know that this team's only going to go as far as Miles, Devin, and Amir takes them. You can't play much better than last night. 71 points combined, 25 rebounds, 14 assists, and only 4 turnovers. We talk a little bit about Miles and also Devin, but Amir last night had that big play in overtime that really did set the tone for you guys, like you were saying. Just the 3 of those guys, Amir being a senior and Miles and Devin being a junior. What is it like to coach those 3 players who seem like they're all on the same page and they're just really good competitors?
Well, I love coaching them, and a couple things, Zach. 10 days ago we were 2-6, and it was fun. I loved coaching those guys then too, but I'm not sure how much they enjoyed being coached by me. The second thing I would say is you are right. Those guys are going to be when the rubber hits the road, it's going to be those 3 guys. However, we're not going to go anywhere this year without balance, and those 3 know that. And I've been told, all 3 of them, that they have to invest in the rest of the guys, in particular the young guys. And I think they've been doing a terrific job of that. Sebastian Much last night, had a great game.
Excellent, especially from 3.
Yeah. And, 2 games in a row where he's made, I think he made 4 threes against Cal Poly and 5 threes against USC last night. Jerome DeRozier's, Ryan Schwieger coming into the game, making key contributions as freshmen. So, we're a much improved team than when you saw us against BYU, and I think I'm doing a better job as well, and we have a nice little rhythm.
What impresses you the most about Sebastian's play as of late? Because that's a tough spot for a freshman to come in and on a big stage like that just deliver 7 and 11 from the field and 5 and 9 from 3, adding in 19 points.
Yeah, he's not fazed in the least by the moment. Sebastian is a Southern California kid, and he kind of carries a little bit of that with him, but he can really shoot it. He's got a terrific feel for the game. He's kind of for us, we've had some really terrific Princeton centers over the last 30, 40 years, and has a chance to be a very good center. He's also could be a very good forward. So he's versatile, and he's absolutely unafraid of, like last night we played this kid Chimezie Metu, and he wasn't afraid of that kid. He was pounding with him, and it's just he's a freshman, and when you're in high school you can make mistakes, and you're usually the best player on the floor. You can maybe get away with it, and here the head coach is saying, what are you doing that for, and you got to do it this way, and you sort of, your first reaction is like, why is he yelling at me all the time? So he's going to be a great player, Zach. I'm really happy that it's starting to pay off right now.
We all know how special the team was last year, getting to the NCAA tournament, not losing a game in the Ivy. But you remember this, obviously, but if the fan remembers it, last year it was a slow start as well. Through the first 11 last year, you were 5-6. Now you're 5-6 again. After seeing this team put 3 games in a row in the win column and now get in a little rhythm, I know it's tough to predict the future, but what type of team do you think you have right now after 11 games?
Yeah, honestly, Zach, I didn't know that, and I'm glad you pointed it out. And I'm thinking about it right now as you asked me the question. So I think I've tried hard and probably didn't do as good of a job as I should have to not compare the group last year to this year at all. We were an improving defensive team a year ago now, and that's what we are now. And that was where we hung our hat a year ago, was on the defensive end. And if we can continue to guard, we scored 103 points last night, gave up 93 points. So we didn't really guard last night, but I think if we can continue to guard, we're going to be in really good shape once we hit league. I do think, though, everybody in the league is very good, in particular Penn. They seem to be playing great basketball together, and I know January 5th is going to be a very difficult matchup.
After the game in the locker room, what was the scene? I got to see some Snapchat stories and some Instagram stories that Bill Walton made his way into the locker room. So how about the scene in a very elated locker room last night?
Yeah, so we went over to the shoot-around. Bill was there, and he shared a couple words with us, mostly about his son, Nate. Nate and I are very tight friends and played at Princeton around the same era. So he talked about Nate's decision to go to Princeton, but really just talked the way Bill does, and our guys were loving it. And then after the game, they started chanting, "We want Bill, we want Bill." And he came in, and our guys jumped around a bunch with him. And you know, as Bill does, he's sort of a force in his own way, and just shared and showered us with, you know, some praise, which always is Bill's way. And so that was a lot of fun. We also had some former players there, Armand Hill and Nate Walton. Bill's son Nate was there, and Darren Height, Jesse Rosenfeld. Some really good former players. So it was a really good night, Princeton West Coast style.
I'll tell you, I'm amazed by the way the Princeton fan travels. They were excellent last year at the NCAA tournament going up against Notre Dame, but even last night they did make attention to it and bring attention to it on the broadcast. You guys had a lot of fans there last night.
Oh, man, it was rocking. I mean, we had a great turnout, and there were pockets of Princeton people everywhere. I could hear our fans. There was a USC fan that was heckling me throughout the game, and I could hear our fan kind of going right back at it. All good stuff, of course, but it was a lot of fun, and I'm really proud that we were able to, get a win for our fans out here on the West Coast.
That was the first Pac-12 victory for Princeton since 1996, and obviously you're very familiar with that game, Princeton and UCLA in the NCAA tournament. So reminisce a little bit about that game back in '96.
You know, there were a couple fun coincidences. Charles O'Bannon Jr. is on the USC basketball team, and when we played UCLA, Charles O'Bannon was, on the team, and the Pac-12 back then, the Pac-10 is always very talented teams, and I enjoy the comparisons. They're fun for some of my teammates and I, but this is really a special win, Zach, for this team, and it's at USC, so we played UCLA on a neutral court in the tournament. That was a heck of a win, but it was neutral, and so this is I don't know. I'm really proud of this group, and for us, considering the start we had, this is a great win.
A little bit higher scoring though last night than compared to '96.
Yeah, 43-41, and I think at halftime it was like 19-18. So, but that was our intention. We couldn't run up and down with those guys. Different era, different time. We got, Miles Stevens, Devin Kennedy. Those guys are better players than we were.
Last one with Mitch Henderson, who joins us right now, actually in Hawaii, as the team did land there today. They're going to play Middle Tennessee on Friday and then a few more games. It must be nice to be in Hawaii, right, Coach? It's a little cold here in Princeton. I'm jealous.
I know. We're getting used to this weather. There's nothing to complain about. As I'm talking to you, I'm on the bus. We're going right by Pearl Harbor. We're on our way to the hotel and for a little light walk through here a little bit later in the day. It's only 12, whatever it is, a little after 12 here. So it was a short night for us after the USC game, but it's easier when you've got a win under your belt. And we want to keep that going. We play very difficult, very good, well-coached Middle Tennessee State team on Friday, and so really happy to continue with a challenging schedule.
Last one for Coach Mitch Henderson right now. At this time of the year, everyone loves to be with their family, but you guys have to play basketball. But we all know that your basketball team is also an extension to your family. So just how about what you guys, minus the preparation for the games over the next few days, how you guys will be spending the holiday season together?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. We're doing a little Secret Santa within the team, all NCAA compliant, just something the guys kind of came up with. And we'll have a nice little Christmas Eve sort of get together where we share some things amongst the group, and we're definitely we're in the spirit. It's beautiful here, but we're definitely in the spirit, and we've got guys from all over the country that are going to be heading home after this before we reconvene before the Penn weekend. So, we got guys that are going to be away from home for the first time, away from their families for the first time. So, want to make sure it's special for them.
Well, Coach, we appreciate it. Thanks so much. Congratulations. And just make one promise to me during this holiday season. Next time I come out to Jadwin Gymnasium for an Ivy League game, you don't get tossed in that one, okay?
Don't get tossed. I set myself up. I deserve that. All right.
It was entertaining. Coach, congratulations. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Zach. Yep.
There's Mitch Henderson joining us right there on the David Lerner Associates hotline. I'll tell you, the game I went to, the BYU game, I was surprised. Coach got ejected from the game, and we talked about it. So I had to tease him on that one at the end. But what a victory for the Princeton basketball team. That's a special victory. Like I said, last year, team got off to a slow start. We know they went through the Ivy, cleanly swept the entire Ivy, then went to the NCAA tournament. But through the first 11 games last year, 5-6. Now they're 5-6 again. And they have a tough Princeton team this year. They are tough, those kids. And I really like Miles Stevens, Devin Kennedy, Amir Bell. They have some talented freshmen. That entire coaching staff, Kerry Kittles, Brett McConnell, Mitch Henderson. I'm leaving some out. But that entire program does a nice job. And to start the year off 2-6 after the expectations and the pride of last year, to pull this back together, and there's still work to do, but to now be a game under 500, put 3 in a row, and defeat USC last night at USC, it's a very, very, very special job, and it all starts with the coaching of that program in Mitch Henderson. But I am jealous as jealous could be because they're in Hawaii right now. I would love to be in Hawaii during this time of the year. But once again, Miles Stevens, Devin Kennedy, and Amir Bell, 71 points, 25 rebounds, 14 assists, only 4 turnovers. Stevens was 10 of 16, 8 of 8 from the charity stripe, and 30 points to only 1 turnover. And the freshman Much off the bench, Sebastian, 7 of 11, 5 of 9 from 3. That was really something special last night. And I stayed up late to watch the entire thing. It was must-watch TV last night. And then the Bill Walton stuff after the game was pretty neat. All right, this is the Zach Gelb Show. You hear the music, so that means it's time to wrap up. Fun show today. We'll be back tomorrow on a big Thursday show.